Hey, Internets! It's Paul. It's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here talking about Altered Carbon, Season 1, Episode 2, Fallen Angel. Whoa, oh, right. Flappy flap. Alright, so we start this episode, father and son fishing.
Yes.
Just having a lovely fishing trip.
Yes, even in the future.
Right. They still fish on a boat.
Yes.
And out of the sky falls an angel.
Yes.
Perhaps the fallen angel that we are discussing here. Basically a scantily clad woman falls from the sky into the water.
Yep.
Kid goes to pull her from the water, and the dad's like, leave that alone. You get the idea, or at least I had the idea when I watched it, that she, and I think it's proven out later, but in the moment I thought she probably fell from the Cloud City, the Cloud House, which we find out later is almost certainly true. She's a prostitute that was probably hired by Bancroft, or was, that's what we get. That's what the implication is from this episode.
That's the implication.
And she fell to her death, or was dead and then fell. But one or another, by the time she hit the water, she was dead.
Yes.
So that's just a little thing, and it's like, hey, let's leave that alone. Cut away. We have some dream imagery. Kovac is dreaming about his past a little bit. There's a whole series of, it looks like envoys, perhaps, his group covered in ash, with those Death Squad guys with the multi-lights, which look cool, by the way. The helmets with the multi-lights, I'm cool with those. They look neat. I don't know. I'm good with it. Fun design. It's like, kind of like a little apocalyptic vision kind of thing. He then wakes up back at the Raven Hotel to the sound of the calling of a raven, is that the alarm clock at the Raven Hotel? If it is, that's cool. Also really annoying, but yeah.
I'll wake you up.
Shut up, you. Shut up. Nevermore. So he wakes up because Poe is bringing in Prescott, an attorney who works for Bancroft.
He said he didn't have a choice, which I guess if Bancroft's really paying for it, maybe that's why he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, but right. That's a kind of a real running gag where he keeps bringing people in. He's like, don't bring anyone else in my room. There's someone else in your room. So he meets with this attorney, and she takes him to one of these the elite sleeve making center, where they make the bodies that people pay tons of cash for.
Yes.
And so the idea is we learn from that you can get a younger body if you want. You can get the cool looking model, or you can basically re-sleeve your stuff. Do they call them actual clones?
I think
forget.
so.
Yes. So you're actually you never age. Hence the Methuselah folks, the Meths. They just keep the same body over and over again. Bancroft would count for that.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why, when other people are getting into old bodies, it's like, that's just the only one available. But you're rich enough where you can no, I want my body.
And we see James Purefoy shows up naked.
Full frontal
does the full frontal, which it's funny because I don't know, the list of full frontal male nudity I've seen on TV is fairly small.
I see. What percentage of it is Purefoy?
And it's like 99. I think maybe Game of Thrones had a little bit of full frontal male.
A little bit, I think.
And it was not James Purefoy.
No way.
But
you might be like, damn.
The other time, it was Rome, James Purefoy. So I think he's one of he's got it in the contract. He's like, I'm good. I'm good with the thing. If you want to do the show the whole full Monty, I'm good with that.
I wonder if the director had to fight him this scene we could probably have clothes on.
Because it's interesting because the guy who plays Kovac, they're constantly finding ways to block his groin. Becomes like a comedic premise. Actually, Poe is like, "Hey, look, there's a woman present," and he keeps trying to block. So my guess is that's not in Kovac's contract.
No, definitely not.
But it's in James Purefoy's contract. He's like, let's do this. All right. Anyway, so yes, he's proudly standing naked and discussing things. So we go from there to, I think maybe we meet up with Ortega. She is.
Oh yeah, she's working out with
She's
the
working
buddy.
out. Pop, 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 pop. We see that she's, whatever, physically capable.
And that's when
She's also irritated at this whole the events.
yes, and her partner realizes that yes, she is tracking him, even though she shouldn't be.
She's tracking Kovac. Yeah.
Right, tracking Kovac, so he's not going to keep it to himself.
Right. He's like,
But
hey, you could get
He
in
tell,
trouble.
I'm going to keep it to myself, and why don't you stop doing that?
Yeah. Right. Why don't you stop? I won't tell, and there's no repercussions, but you probably should.
Nothing to impel you to do it except for me saying it.
Yeah. So she doesn't stop. Hence, she continues to track Kovac. And they're at the station. She's late because she's been tracking Kovac. And so she gets the crap assignment, which is to tell this, basically, go talk to this woman about her dead child.
Yes.
This woman wants the body of her child. We learn that the child she's looking after or wants to see is the woman who fell from the sky, the fallen angel, from the opening of this episode.
Yes. And she can't be spun up, which means put the stack into a body that can speak and tell about who killed me. Can't do it because she's converted. So she can't be spun up.
She's...
Or at least that's what they've told her anyway, even though they can't find the body.
Right. Which, okay, we'll just go through this little plot line. The body they can find, they're just hiding it.
Right.
And so...
Right, but they told her, though, that, I think she was saying something about how she converted or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's
When you say converted, remind me what you're saying for that.
So, if you have in your stack information that you are religious, then and it's against your religion to be put into a body,
Gotcha.
then they won't do it.
Which is what later, we'll just skip around a little bit here, but Ortega's mom,
Yeah, she's
there's a
like-
conversation with Ortega and her mom's like, religious coding, you should, basically she's worried for her daughter's soul, because her daughter hasn't signed the thing saying, don't re-sleeve me when I die.
Right.
And she's in a violent profession, and you could see her perhaps dying at some
Yeah,
point. And,
yeah, at least to know who, even though, her mother's like, yeah, well, what are you going to do?
Gotcha. So, so later in the episode, after Ortega has to deal with his mom and say, "Hey, look, we're doing our best,"
It's
but
like, I can't even bury her.
Ortega goes to the morgue, and there's a big cabinet that says "empty,"
Yep.
and she opens it, and there's a body in it.
Yep.
She takes the stack out.
Yes.
So you're saying I guess what I was trying to get at was in the conversion process or whatever. It's not that it's impossible to read the stack. It's just that you're saying don't do it.
Right. It's
Okay.
a do not resuscitate order.
So Ortega could review that stack, in other words,
In principle.
and see whether what happened to the person. Okay. So she
Unless it was damaged, but I don't think it was.
She hasn't done that this episode, but she did take the stack, and I assume that's one of the reasons she might have taken it, is to find out what happened.
Perhaps.
Okay. So, so there's that. So yeah, we go back. Kovac is now reviewing death threats that were made to Bancroft, and it's kind of like a Minority Report style. Coordinate by people with military training. Coordinate by that kind of.
Yep.
And he eventually
People who are on planet.
he eventually finds a one of the death threats is. I guess they're all video. There's no
These
piece
days,
of paper.
Come on. Why? I want to kill you so much, I've got a pen.
Yep. So it's a video deal, and by the video, he can tell the serial number on the gun that the guy's threatening with, and he tracks that gun to its owner and its source, and it's this guy, Elliot, is his last name.
Yes.
Vernon?
Vernon Elliott. Right.
And they have an interrogation scene, basically.
Yes.
Kovac beats him up, ties him up, interrogates him. Guy gets away. He beats him up again.
Yes.
He ties him up again. It's like, oh man. But in the middle of all that, while the guy's tied up, Kovac kind of ascertains this isn't my guy. at some point he's like, okay.
Well,
you
part
didn't
of what
do
he
that, but-
he was telling him, he was saying he realized that through this room is a way for him to see his daughter.
right.
And
because he was learning that he was blaming Bancroft for his daughter's death.
Yes.
Because his daughter was killed and she was dating Bancroft.
yes,
And that's kind of he was putting two and two together and like, I hate you.
yes.
And so he's got this.
So based on the fact that if he were to kill him, then he wouldn't be able to take care of his daughter. He's just like, you clearly are not the one who did it.
Gotcha. Right. He makes that, and I think he maybe makes a little character assessment thing at the same time.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
okay, you're probably not this guy.
I think it's one of his
The envoy abilities. Scanning.
Yes.
So he, Kovac goes and finds this temporal device that Elliot uses. Elliot's very upset with him. Don't you dare go do this thing, because it's like his memory. And, I don't know if it's his memory. I guess it's not his memory.
No, it's her memories, but he's able. That's the only way he can go see her.
Yeah. So he basically is reliving this loop where at the time of his daughter was dying.
Yes.
In distress, basically. So what this reminded me of, actually, well, there's some Black Mirror stuff here, but also the movie Strange Days.
Oh
remember that movie?
yeah.
With Ralph Fiennes
Yeah,
and Angela Bassett.
Wow.
And the idea was Ralph Fiennes is a broker. It's a pretty cool movie, actually. I kind of liked it. All right, never mind. But the premise is that he's a
the
dealer.
the premise is good, but I think the execution leaves something to be desired.
All right, I agree that the killer in that was a little weird. That whole scenario didn't work out. But I liked Ralph Fiennes and Angela Bassett.
Yeah,
and I like the
they're
premise. That was cool. But anyway, he deals in memories, like people's memories, and you can like put on a little device, and then you can relive not just seeing it, but feeling the emotions of these different
that's
scenes.
something they talk about here, where
Right.
it's like people are buying people's memories. So
Right.
that's one of the theories. Like, why would they take your memory after you've been killed or whatever? But sometimes they sell them.
Yeah. So it reminded me of that a bit. Also, the idea that there's a loop that people kind of constantly relive these moments kind of reminded me of Black Mirror with the oh look, I have this guy's execution on a loop,
right,
and you can
right.
So anyway, similar themes.
It's sort of a virtual purgatory.
Yes, virtual purgatory. So he eventually
He
Kovac,
sees where it occurs, so he wants to investigate.
right. It's like an alleyway, and so he eventually Kovac goes to this alley. Where it's near a sex club. He decides to go into the sex club to interrogate people, or not interrogate, ask them if they knew Lizzie Elliot's daughter. He finds out from that experience that there was a high price guy that would come around and abuse, choke.
It was him.
But it was definitely Bancroft?
Yes.
Okay, I don't remember them actually saying the name. But
No, she was saying, he was saying who might have done this. Was it Bancroft? Like, no, he'd take care of his girls. And
Yeah.
and that's when she was pressing, he beats us up, but he makes sure that if we die, then he'll get us good body.
Right, which is another,
It's like-
whew. Yeah, so in this
So
world,
he would never make us dead.
right, he
would
kills
only-
people, but then he'll just pay to get them a new body.
Yeah.
So they're not, hey, whatever.
With great breasts and
Yeah, it's like-
great everything.
So it's worth it to die, in other words. That was pretty disturbing.
Yeah, and he was able to find that information out by claiming to be Lizzie's mother.
Right, which is very
Re-sleeve.
cool. So in this world, yes, you can say that kind of thing and not be crazy.
Well,
yeah.
I thought it was cool in terms of, just in terms of an acting thing, where it's like, make sure you want the people to feel invested in what's going on, no matter what's going on. So the fact that eventually in the series you're going to see people who are like, well, we're family, even though they don't look like family. The tragic thing about in the previous episode, seeing the
Right.
old woman and the young woman in the old woman's body.
Correct.
It's just another different aspect of drama that can be interesting. And it's like, okay, well, even though some might criticize in terms of the whitewashing that occurs with an Asian person in a white person's body, which is what the show is about. One thing that we're seeing though is that that's the whole premise of the show, and it can work the other way too, where somebody of a different race can, you might see a lot more diversity as a result of that. And I say
cross-gender.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Agreed. That was an interesting take. So yeah, he decides to use that to his advantage. Oh look, I'm actually her mom, and I really want to, get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, and they're like, you shouldn't. It sounded like a mom. You shouldn't let anybody hurt you.
Yeah,
You shouldn't. No matter how much they pay you.
and one of the cooler things that happens in this episode too is Kovac sees an ad for this virtual gaming experience. And the picture on the ad is the Falconer. At this point, you've seen the whole series, so you know. But his love interest, his boss, whatever. Anyway, so his partner,
Love interest less boss.
Okay.
Yes.
So he decides, I'm going to go check out this virtual experience so I can see her again, in some way, some small way. So he goes and and so this whole virtual experience is, hey. Everybody, remember, this is when we defeated the evil envoys, and they were horrible, and they killed kids, and we were saving everybody.
Yes.
And so he's like, this was a mistake. I probably shouldn't have come here and seen this, but it is interesting that's kind of...
Oh, yeah, and he has a little conversation with a little girl.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
He's like, I'm not gonna watch my language around this little girl. I'm just gonna give it to her straight.
That's probably an old man in a girl's body. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, no. So he gives her some tough truths. And we also see Poe in his off time. He goes and plays like virtual online poker with other AI, which is an interesting concept too. That what do they do in their downtime? They don't just like power down. They're like, I got time. I'll go play some virtual poker. So he goes and plays poker. They don't seem to treat him very well.
No, they don't. No.
Something about the one. There's an AI that doesn't speak, and so he mimes out like, "Do rats eat the corpses?" or something like that. And he was like, "No, rats do not eat the corpse," which is silly. I forgot the context of that question made sense, but in any case, it's fun that Edgar Allan Poe would be talking about
Yes, Edgar
rats
Allan
eating
Poe fans,
corpses.
you can comment there to let us know exactly what the story is that he's referencing.
Probably the Pit and the Pendulum. There was a rat in that one. Anyway, okay.
Okay.
So Ortega goes to confessional
Yes.
because she's been having lustful thoughts. Actually,
She
I
says
skipped
that.
ahead.
She
but-
really, she mentions that to start out with.
Yeah.
I think that was the warmer. I think the icebreaker.
The icebreaker. But before that, so Kovac comes out of the sex club,
Yes.
and Elliot, Vernon Elliot, is there to like, hey, you stop checking up on my daughter's death.
Yep.
And two of them get jumped
Yep.
by these muggers.
Yep.
One of them has a super electro spine.
Yes.
It looked very retro sci-fi.
Yes, it did.
I guess it
It's
makes
like-
him super strong because he punches the wall.
Yeah.
But I don't know if electrifying your spine would do that. Whatever. Fine. He's a super villain, basically. But in the middle of that fight, Kovac handles himself well. Does he kill them? Or does he just get arrested before everybody dies? I can't remember.
Remember either.
Anyway, he gets arrested. And arrested by Ortega. And she brings him in, and they have there's a little sexual tension moment there between them where they're like on the other side of the glass.
Yes.
And then Prescott, the attorney from Bancroft, is there, and it's like, he's out.
Yep.
Never bother my guy again. He's off limits. So Kovac goes home, back to the Raven.
Yes.
There's another person waiting in his room. As it turns out, it's Miss Bancroft.
Yes.
And she wants to have sex with him.
Yes.
And so does. We also learn that she can secrete a pheromone through
Yes.
her saliva and skin
Yes.
that, like, it's like ecstasy basically through her
Yeah,
skin.
and I'm not sure if it was hyperbole or not, but she was saying that she can makes it so you can feel the sensations of the other person.
Which was another thing that I was thinking about Black Mirror. That was another one of those the Black Mirror episode where the guy,
Oh, yes.
he can
Right.
feel
Right.
what the other person's feeling.
Right.
So they Black Mirrored that as well. So yes, she does say it right out. So I think that's true.
It could be. I feel like it's possible that it's just like, oh, this is so great.
Oh,
it feels like
yeah,
it,
yeah,
Like,
good point.
like it might be a euphoria that mimics that, but
So they're lying there like in some kind of post-coital bliss or something. He's having a little dream imagery, and we see that Mr. Bancroft is watching.
yeah, I believe so.
I think he's got some kind of video capabilities. I'm not sure what he was watching from, but he's watching, and we see some very odd. There's some, there's a little bit of dream imagery stuff happening or something, or maybe it's scenes that don't necessarily go together that are going together. Where we see the moment. It looks like the moment in time, or just after the moment when Bancroft was killed. There's like blood on the wall, and there's something about. Ortega says, like, forgive me, or I'm sorry. The suggestion, the implication is that she's there in the room at the moment that Bancroft is killed, but I don't think that's... Anyway, we'll see if you'll know that's true. I don't know that that's true.
I don't know that's true.
But,
or not.
But that's the implication it gives. It's trying to, at least if that's wrong, it's trying to throw you off the scent a little bit.
I'll
But
have to watch it.
that she's
I don't
somehow
remember.
caught up in the moment when Bancroft died. And I think that's more or less the end of the episode.
I think so.
So we'll just call it there. Yeah. So, yes, there's basically it involves the investigation of two women's deaths in some ways, if you want to put it in one way. There's the woman who fell from the Cloud Manor, and then Lizzie Elliott, Mr. Elliott's daughter, and the investigation of those two people all seem to be related to Bancroft, both of them.
Yes.
One fell from Bancroft's house,
Yes.
the other was dating Bancroft at the time that she died. So, yeah. Thoughts, sir? I know we've been giving thoughts already throughout this, but what are your...
Yeah, I mean, I'm still happy with the... I mean, at this point, I was still happy.
Okay. Did that continue?
Yes,
Okay.
it continued. The happiness continued. Happy.
I will say one thing that's... it's fun. This plays out somewhat to me, at least this episode in particular, plays out like a high school boy's fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that this thing was written by a guy makes sense. Although you pointed out the showrunner is female.
Yes.
So she's just being faithful to the book, perhaps. But just the idea of, like, and then... in my case, this guy is pre-puberty, I guess. And then there's this hot chick, and she's really rich, and she's hot for the hero, and she secretes sex hormones, and then they have sex, and then he goes to a sex club, and then he pays for this prostitute who's naked, but then he doesn't want to have sex, but then they talk, and she's naked the whole time, and then they go investigate his body of this hot chick who fell in the water, and she's dead, but she's like a hot chick, and she's naked. like okay,
Apparently Morty wrote this.
yes, exactly. So, yeah, anyway, it's just, okay, yes. It's, everybody wants the hero, apparently. Now, you could also make the case that, hey, people would be hot in this world where you can pick your own body. If you're rich enough, you're probably going to be... but it just seems like there's a lot of attractive women that are all like, I must have sex with the hero. Or
It's certainly the trope of,
right, the noir
stories.
thing. Right,
yeah,
right.
It is.
Even Ortega with her, like, I'm having lustful thoughts. So, yeah, anyway. It's, yes, guy-centric. Kovac. The guy. But, yeah, the mystery's unfolding. We're learning more about this world. I do like that, what we talked about, the duality of, the the sense that this guy he can believably pretend to be I'm this person's mother. The fact that there are we see what having money in this world buys you. But yeah, we're seeing more uses of this technology unfolding, but not so much that I'm sure there's more to come as they spell it out. So yeah, it's again polished. The world looks cool. Again, if you like Blade Runner, you're gonna like this show. So yeah. Anyway, there we go. Episode 2.
There we go.
We will see you next week for episode 3 and also Counterpart.
Oh yes.
And probably something. Oh! I've got a Star Trek Discovery. I've done the interview with Brian O'Connor, kind of a recap of the entire season. Very, very cool. I'm just putting the edits on that, and that will be up shortly as well. So subscribe if you want to get more info on that kind of stuff. Make comments, please. Tell us how stupid we are.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, and otherwise, we will see you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.